Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look at the New York Islanders' Johnny Boychuk. He has officially retired from the NHL. He's 36 years old. A great career for Johnny Rocket. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below, and let's take a look at Johnny Rocket. Alright, so before we get too far into this video, guys, we want to give a quick plug to our Instagram and Twitter handles at goalline_hockey. Links will be in the description down below, as well as playing throughout this video. And make sure to check out our Patreon for a weekly podcast every Thursday night. We talk about the latest news around the league. We answer your YouTube questions from here on the channel, so if you maybe want a chance to have your questions answered, or at least your feedback shown on the podcast, leave your comments down below. So with that out of the way, guys, Johnny Boychuk, Edmonton, Alberta boy, has retired from the NHL. He's a former second-round pick back in 2002 of the Colorado Avalanche. Started his career in the pros as in the WHL, as these big Alberta defensemen normally do, playing with the Calgary Hitmen in the WHL, moving on to the Moose Jaw Warriors of the WHL, and then eventually going into the American Hockey League. Once he was drafted by the Avalanche, going to the Hershey Bears for his first season. Spent a couple of seasons with the Monsters, the River Rats, and the Lake Erie Monsters. Played 4 games in his NHL debut in the 2007-2008 NHL season. And then he got traded to the Boston Bruins, where he took off in his first full season after that Colorado Avalanche season. In the AHL with the Providence Bruins, put up 65 points in 78 games in the American Hockey League as a defensive defenseman. That's pretty solid for Johnny B. His first couple of seasons in Boston is when Johnny Boychuk's career took off. He had spent 6 seasons with the Boston Bruins, won a Stanley Cup with the team in 2011 when they won their Stanley Cup. That was a big year for the Boston Bruins as they really built up that roster. Luch, Horton, Boychuk, Dennis Seidenberg, all those big boys on that Boston Bruins team. Zdeno Chara, Bergeron, Marchand, all those guys were on that team, and the Boston Bruins were legit, and Johnny B was a huge part of that for the Bruins. In the lockout-shortened season, he spent a little time in Austria playing with Salzburg, but then he came back to the United States for 2 more seasons with the Boston Bruins, and eventually got traded to the New York Islanders, where he got traded basically for Brandon Carlo and another draft pick for Johnny Boychuk from the New York Islanders. The Islanders signed him to a 6-year, $6 million per season contract, $36 million over that 6 years for Johnny Boychuk, and that's where his NHL career would end. He would spend 6 seasons with the New York Islanders, and he put up some pretty solid numbers: 35 points, 25 points, 23, 18, 19, and 11 in his final season in the NHL. Unfortunately, though, Johnny B's career came to an end early because of an injury he sustained in a game against the Montreal Canadiens earlier this year. I believe it was January or maybe December of last season. It's been almost a year since that happened, where the Montreal Canadiens player's skate went up, caught his eye, and it looks like there may have been more damage than really what we thought of at the time. Johnny Boychuk did come back to the NHL. He played a little bit this season, but it looks like there's a couple factors here. So let's just look right away. Johnny Boychuk is 36 years old. So right off the bat, let's just get that out of the way. He's an older player on this seemingly getting very young New York Islanders team. Okay? His contract, that's also something to keep an eye on with Johnny Boychuk, as Johnny Boychuk's contract is $6 million per season for the next 2 years. So he only got 4 years out of that deal with the New York Islanders. So the last 2, he will be sidelined on the NHL. He is now on the injured reserve for the New York Islanders already by Cap Friendly. Cap space. The Islanders have $3.9 million in cap space right now. They have a restricted free agent still on the board named Matthew Barzal. Ever heard of him before? Yes, you have, because he's probably the New York Islanders' best player on this team. Despite all the hype with Ilya Sorokin in between the pipes, it's Matt Barzal's show for the New York Islanders. So, $3.9 million will not get you Matt Barzal. So the Islanders just moved out $6 million in cap space. That brings it to almost $10 million in cap space for the Islanders. And that can get a Matt Barzal contract done, more than likely. So, it brings up the question. Is this Lula Morello doing what he did up in Toronto with, what was his name? Stefan Robidas? They called it Robidas Island, where he was exiled and he was very low-key. He wasn't allowed to say how much he was partying overseas and he was having a great old time. But he was injured and ineligible to play in the NHL. I think we're seeing that here with the Islanders. Lula Morello, if you know one guy that knows any little ways around the NHL and how to maybe fix the system a little bit, don't be surprised if there's an under-the-table deal here between the Lula Morello camp and Johnny Boychuk. Now, I think Johnny Boychuk legitimately does have some concern with that eye injury. I don't think this is completely out of the blue, but we are starting to see that the Islanders may have just pulled off a fast one on the NHL. As a way to move out that $6 million in cap space, I think the Islanders tried very hard to move out Johnny Boychuk's contract with no takers. So you've got 2 years, $6 million per season on Johnny Boychuk's deal, and we will likely see him be on the IR for the remainder of those 2 years. And I wish the best to Johnny Boychuk. He had, I believe, a 13 or 14-year NHL career, was a big leader for the Boston Bruins in their Stanley Cup championship, a big leader for the New York Islanders for the past 5 years. And he's one of those guys that you can build a culture around. He was an agitator. He was a fighter. And he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty in the NHL. And he was one of those guys that will always be known as just a blue-collar, hard-working defenseman. And he has a booming slap shot just to top it all off. So Johnny B will be missed. Johnny Rocket, whatever you want to call him. He will be sorely missed for the New York Islanders, the Boston Bruins, and the rest of the NHL. But the NHL may be a little bit more happy because they don't have to face him in the other jersey. So guys, let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of Johnny Boychuk? What's your favorite moment of Johnny Boychuk's career in the NHL? Was it in Boston? Was it with the Islanders? Was it with the Calgary Hitmen? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and let's go Islanders.